Hi, friends, and welcome. I am your hot mess of a host, Mary Hendricks from The Very Merry Life, your new mom friend that soon will feel like an old friend. Twice a week, every week, I want you to come and join me as we cover moments in motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. Some moments worth savoring, others worth surviving, all with a laugh, pep talk, or F-bomb every now and again. I want you to come as you are, but leave the sugarcoating behind because, guys, we know how sweet it already is. So what do you say? Up for picking some daisies? All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. I am here with Roxy, or Dr. Roxy, Dr. Liz, because I know I have you guys from the Media Moms, and I am so excited to have you on because I just think that we need to have a conversation about screen time and kids because there's a lot to be said about it. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves first, whoever wants to start, and then we'll just get into it.
Yeah. Hi, I am Dr. Roxy Etta, and just like a little bit of background about myself, I recently completed my Ph.D. in Human Development and Family Studies from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I've spent the past 10 years studying basically the intersection of kids and families and screens.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Liz?
Yeah, and I've been researching this for a while too. Roxy and I finished our PhDs at the same time. We hilariously defended our dissertations on the exact same day. Like, it just all came together.
I love that.
Yeah, my research has really focused on digital play and what parents think about play. And now that we also, like, throughout grad school, both became moms as well, we have 5 kids between us. We are thinking about it in both spaces now. Like, we're thinking about screen time from the academic side. We are really familiar with the research, but we're also trying to figure out how to live it ourselves because it's so different than from a textbook when it's your own kids screaming at you that they just want to watch one more show.
Yeah, no, I actually had a pediatrician on as a guest, and she said the same exact thing. She said from a pediatric lens, when you're training, when you're doing rotations, when you're just a doctor from the other side, she said the moment I became a parent, I was like, oh my God. And she was like, we do, like, there is judgment that gets placed and you don't realize, like, and I say that all the time, like, you don't know motherhood until you literally step your 2 feet into it. And it's different. Like, you could babysit all your life, you can work with kids, but until they're your kids, it's just a whole new playing field. It's wild.
Yeah. And it's different kid to kid even.
You said you have 5 kids between the 2 of you. So who has how many?
Yes, I have 2 3-year-old girls. I have twins, twins, and I have a 6-month-old boy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Some fresh.
So,
and I have a 3-year-old boy and a 1-year-old boy.
Okay. Yeah. So we're all in it. We're all in that, like, the thick years. That's what I like to call them. The thick years, the treading pudding years. That's what I like, my little analogy. Years
exactly
where
what it is.
Yeah, it is. That's I treading pudding's my little analogy. It's like, it's hard as hell to get through, but when you all of a sudden realize what you're sitting in, you're like, oh, this is pretty sweet. Like, this is cool, but it's hard. So, but with, stepping into it and stepping into parenthood, you have those little kids. Screen time is a big conversation where I even see it all over on social media. And I've talked about it before where I get so many people that ask me what I've done because they're on such eggshells with how to use screens with their kids because some people will tell you awful, don't do it. They shouldn't have it at all. And then you have some that are like, whatever. And that's more like me.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be a really polarizing topic on social media. And I feel like you see more of the people who don't use screens at all or like brag about not using screens at all on social media versus me talk to parents in real life.
Yeah.
That isn't necessarily the case.
Yeah. Well, it is. There's like a sense of bragging rights to it. When you get on, they're like, oh, I don't let little Johnny watch anything. And it's almost added information, even amongst not even social media, like even amongst mom groups and things like that. It seems to be a competing thing. And I think we're all lost on it. Like I once heard us be called, because we're all probably the same age, we're generation guinea pig. Like we're the first that have to kind of do this. Like we had screens when we were kids, but it was not at the level it is now.
No, no. Liz and I often say that we're like the first generation of parents raising kids in the digital age.
Yeah.
And there's like no handbook
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it adds such a mental load to parenting too. Like I'm constantly accessible. The phone's in my pocket, my kid sees it, they see me on it, the computer's around, the TV's mounted. Like we can access anything always. So it's always on your mind. And how
always.
do you
Always. And I've always taken for me, I just have never thought about it, like where it honestly became just a survival tactic, especially during the pandemic. I think, honestly, I can remember the first time I ever rolled out a screen for any of my kids was my daughter was 6 weeks old. And I'll never forget this. She was 6 weeks old. It was in the middle of the night. And for some reason, I was so dead tired. And she was just having, you remember, like that 6-8 week period, they start waking up more and they don't want to fall asleep. And I remember getting out, they had the Fisher-Price Rock and Play, which has since been recalled. And I put her in it and I put on Coco from Disney's Pixar because I knew the colors were going to distract her. And I fell asleep on the couch while she was in that because I was so dead tired. And I remember like sitting up being like, who does this? Like, am I wrong for doing this? But I needed to. Like, I just needed to sleep or otherwise I was going to lose it. So I remember that. And then ever since then, I was like, whatever, it's survival.
Yeah. Like, I think that's often overlooked is how much stress parents are under and how challenging parenting is for people who don't have as much of a support system or just having a hard time, and how a screen can be a solution in that moment that can be like extremely beneficial, even like 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. Well, and so I remember when I got connected with your page, what I love about Liz and Roxy's page, the Media Moms, is that when you go on, I saw a post, it was like, we're not pro screen time. So I think a lot of people probably see your stuff and think, oh, these women are pushing for parents to put their kids in front of screens. And you guys are the opposite, correct?
Yes. So that reel was sort of a response to some of the comments that we had been getting, some of the messages we've been getting from people saying that screens don't have to be a part of childhood. And in no way do Liz and I say at all that kids should be on screens. We're just saying what research suggests, what the data shows, is that the majority of kids are on screens. Kids from 0 to 8 are on a screen for about 2.5 hours a day on average. Yeah. So we're meeting parents where they're at. And the majority of parents are letting their kids use screens. And if they are using them, what can we do to make it as beneficial as possible for kids? Yeah. So that's like our take on it. We're not pro screen. We're just here to help parents who are using screens with their kids.
Yeah. Well, because I've always said this too, because they exist. They're not going anywhere. This is only going to keep speeding up and speeding up. Like even my daughter, I could have tried, let's say my oldest, she is going to be 6, but she just started kindergarten. Let's say if I had for all 5 years kept her from touching, seeing any of that stuff, the moment she gets into kindergarten, they have iPad, tablet time. They have that as a learning resource. Schools are starting to incorporate that into one of their tools of teaching, and it's just there. But even for us, like during the pandemic and things like that, I think screens really got big because of obviously survival, but also like I know my oldest was doing speech therapy. That's where everything transferred. Even now we do speech therapy virtually. A lot of services are offered virtually. They just exist. There's no way to keep these unless you go live in a shack in the woods. Like there's no way to keep these away from your kids' line of sight. So we got to teach them, you know, in my personal opinion, we got to teach them how to just like use it the right way. Yeah. Right.
We talk a lot about laying the foundation for a lifetime of healthy habits too. I really like this anecdote from one of my friends. She was just casually talking to me about how she wasn't allowed to watch TV as a kid. Yeah. And now that she's an adult, she feels like she can't look away. Like it feels like this super special, not allowed, like extra treat that when it's available, she just wants all of it. Whereas she's really making an effort. And what we encourage parents to do is make an effort to lay those foundations of healthy habits now while they're little, like by setting the tone the way we use our screens or by showing them like how to use them in moderation and with intention, because they are going to encounter them. Like, there's really, it's not it's not avoidable anymore.
Yeah.
So how can we set them up for success? Because we really, at the end of the day, everyone wants what's best for their kids.
Yeah.
So how can we lay the foundation for that?
Yeah. Well, so now everyone, whenever I hear anyone that says like about screen time and kids, they say all of the studies say that kids before the age of 2 shouldn't have any. Is that like I feel like that's what people are always saying.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Eye-Opening Moments podcasts are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
That is what a lot of people say. So a previous recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatrics suggested limiting screen time. So no screens before 2 is like what pediatricians were saying, basically. But those recommendations have been updated within the past few years to provide some nuance based on research that came from places like our research lab that we worked in. So now they say like introducing screens around 18 months if you so choose, and that FaceTime is always so video chatting is always the exception, because video chat is different than video viewing, and kids can get a lot out of video chatting, especially like during the pandemic. Like Liz and I had our first babies in the middle of 2020 when things were really rough, and like our kids met all of our family members through FaceTime.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of benefit to it for not only kids, but for parents and grandparents and extended family.
Yeah, there's a lot about relationship building. It's a cool option for screens with little ones.
Yeah. I mean, I think about it. Think about like I have family that lives in California. Just the fact that they're able to like FaceTime their cousins and see them and talk with them. And like I said, they did their speech therapy. We tried. That was impossible. My daughter was 2 at the time, and trying to get her to sit on an iPhone. Yeah, it was almost like I was trying to force the screen on her, and I was like, yeah, this is not going anywhere. This is an interesting experience. But yeah, I once saw someone, I had another guest come on, and he actually worked on maybe you know him. I think he was down in that area, Atlanta, but I think he worked in a study. I would have to find his name because now I'm forgetting it. But he worked in a study about screen time, and he was saying a lot of it boils down to how it's being used and what benefits it's producing. So more or less like are you replacing like essential interaction with screens? And if you are, then that's not good. That's the fear, is that we're replacing these important interactions. And he said, if not, and you're using it so that way you could cook dinner and like do things like that to benefit your baby and have that quality time with your kids, that's what all of this needs to be focused on. And I was like, I loved when he said that, because I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like if I can have the screen for 5 minutes, let my kids do that so I can take care of this, then we can come together and have that good quality time. And I think that's what, as parents, I think we forget is like, I think a lot of us focus on the quantity time and we forget about the quality of,
absolutely.
We could boil that into anything.
Yeah, we have been thinking about it a lot, exactly like that recently. Just framing it as, what are all of the things that research shows us are really important for development? So things like sleep and quality, like high quality verbal interactions and FaceTime with caregivers and mealtime together and play outside. Like all of these things matter a lot in a kid's day. And if we're focusing on those experiences and making sure that those are what's filling the majority of kids' time, what they do in those pockets in between, or how we take a minute to cook dinner or take a brain break because the day is really heavy, those aren't as important as the big things that are taking up the chunks of time in their day. So there's a question that we get asked a lot, like how much is too much? And we like to think of it as quality over quantity. Exactly what you're saying. Like, what does your individual child need? What is the content that you're letting them watch? And what's the context in which it's happening and the context of the rest of their day? And that's way more important than how many minutes they're actually eyes on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Well, and I know you guys have also covered like not all screen time is created equal also, correct? So I know you'd said FaceTime obviously is a different thing, but like, so I'm trying to think. Give me some of your favorite shows. Like, what are your favorites with age groups? Because like I think of there's probably a difference between Coco Melon or Hey Bear, and there's got to be a different than Miss Rachel, right? I don't know. I would think.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So Liz and I are very passionate about this topic of content and like high quality content for kids, because there are definitely shows that are designed for the benefit of kids, like designed for learning, that have like a big team of experts and researchers who put a lot of thought and planning into making like a curriculum and content that's designed to be beneficial for kids. And then there's other programs, shows, channels out there that exist purely to make money, that don't have the best interests of kids' development in mind. So my favorite show for kids is Tumbleleaf on Amazon Prime. I named my son after the lead character from the show, so I'm like, it's a deep love. So I spent a lot of time researching that show in the lab that Liz and I worked in during grad school, and it models really good behaviors for kids. The theme is about play essentially, and problem solving and being creative. And if you haven't seen it, I would highly suggest checking it out.
What's it called?
Show.
Tumbleweed?
Tumbleleaf.
Tumbleleaf. Okay. I'm going to look it up. I haven't seen that one. That sounds cute though.
Yeah, my 3-year-old loves Tumbleleaf, and he's also recently gotten really into Blue's Clues, which I had never thought to put on for him, because to me that is like a show from my childhood, like a show of the 90s. My little brother loved it. Yeah. But it recently, there was a revival of it in, I think like in the past 5 years. It's called Blue's Clues and You. Yeah. And he loves it. And Blue's Clues is cool because there's a whole research team and curriculum. A lot went into like how the episodes are formatted and what the questions are. And they did immense play testing to see like, do kids follow the storyline? Do they get the answers right? And it has a really unique call and response format where I don't know if you're familiar with Blue's Clues, but they'll ask the audience a question and then pause to give kids a chance to answer. Yep. And research has found that actually teaches them how to more deeply engage with the content and makes it more likely that they'll learn. And so, he loves it. He has like dubbed a chair in the house his thinking chair and sings when we go to get the mail. Like he's really taking a lot from it. I love that. And it has a really cool problem solving curriculum. So we've been enjoying watching it together.
We went through a little Blue's Clues because I found that on, I think you could find the old ones on, I think Paramount Plus app. We have like Apple TV, so we put Paramount Plus, but they have all the old shows on there. Yeah. So I have been able, the one I found and remembered from when I was a kid was Little Bear.
Yeah.
But it's so sweet. It's so sweet. Yeah. But now I know why my mom probably wanted me to put it on, because when I put it on for my kids, it's so relaxing. The music, it's quiet and it's just calm. And I was like, yeah, this is why she loved it so much. But the problem and what I found with my kids, I think they've seen so many of the Coco Melons, and even I think Pixar does it a little bit. They move so quick from scene to scene to scene that my kids can't. Like I thought about this the other day. I put on Bambi, the movie Bambi for my kids, which if you've seen it, it's an old 1950s movie. It's like so slow. I used to watch that stuff. I was so used to like the slower films. My kids cannot sit still for that stuff. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if.
Yes, it is. So there's been a lot of research on the pacing of shows for kids. Like when there's a lot of fast movement and cuts in between scenes, that's really attention grabbing to kids, and it makes it harder for them to look away. Versus if it's all one cut, very slow moving, it can be disinteresting to kids. They might not watch it like with Bambi.
Yeah, well, that was my experience yesterday. I was like, come on. I was like, it's a classic, that or like all the other old ones. I was like, come on. I used to sit and just like chill watching Cinderella or Lady and the Tramp. I was content. I try that now. Forget it. They don't care. But yeah, no, we have that. Bluey, that's a good one. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, that's another one. Miss Rachel is she's my winner on that one. And I love Miss Rachel.
Yes, she has grown so much. And like, I feel like I can't meet a person who doesn't know who she is. for good reason. Like she's very well loved by many families.
Yeah. She's a big one for me just because of speech delay stuff. Like she actually knows her stuff with that one, which I think is so helpful. But in thinking about that, because I've shared about her, I have so many people, or just any of these shows, I always say, and people are like, oh my God, I can't with her voice. I can't with who the characters, things like that. I know you guys recently just covered that, saying you should watch a show that your kids or that you like also. That's an important thing in there. So I want you guys to talk about a little bit about that.
Yes, exactly. So you're more likely to watch a show with your kids if you like it, if it doesn't like make you cringe when you hear the voices that they're using or the storyline or how it looks aesthetically to you. So if kids get more benefit from watching TV when they're watching it with a parent or a sibling or someone who's talking about the content with them, and you're more likely to sit and talk with them about it if you like it. So I love the show Tumbleweed. It's stop motion. It's really beautifully done. Like it's fun for an adult to watch. So I'm likely to sit down and watch it with my kids because I like it myself.
Yeah.
Versus I have like a personal thing against kids shows that have adult voices in them. I know it's like a really particular thing, but it just drives me nuts. So I don't pick shows that have adult voices because I just don't like it.
Okay, so Bluey wouldn't be your favorite.
Bluey I don't mind because there are kids in it and they are using kid voices. That one's good. I don't mind that one.
Roxy just doesn't like if you give a mouse a cookie, which is my kiddo's other favorite show. It's so cute. It's like very slow paced. It's all just about friendship. It's a little confusing. Like why are there talking animals and talking humans? But beyond that, Roxy doesn't like that it's an adult voicing the mouse. But it's like, oh, the mouse is a kid or an adult anyway, so it doesn't bother me, but she can't stand it.
I love that.
It's a good show.
It's so cute.
It's very cute. It's very good. Just that the mouse's voice just gets to me a little bit.
All right. Well, that's fine, but that's normal. I can, there's so many ones that I can think of that drive me nuts. Peppa Pig drives me a little bonkers.
I can't do. Yeah.
Although it is cute because my daughter specifically says George for anyone now. So I'm like, okay, well, you got that. And then I can deal with that little tidbit because of it. Otherwise, Caillou, forget it. My son asked for that, and I was like, absolutely never. Yeah, that will never ever happen in this household.
It's like a universal parents agree across the board. Like we're gonna veto.
I don't even Daniel Tiger even drives me bonkers. I
really,
can't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was cute in the beginning, but I don't know. The voices got to me. There's like that, or there's other ones that just, if they're too babyish, then I'm like, oh, I can't. I don't know. I just, I don't know. It's funny, but I think that's important for parents to know. And I'll admit, like, I even will think about it. Like I think about for my husband and I standpoint, it's really nice connection wise when we both like the same movie. So I can only imagine what that feels like as a kid to sit with your parents and like, I try to make a big effort on it because it's so easy for me just to pull this up when I'm not interested and just tuck it down. And I don't do it all the time, but then I'll realize and then feel bad, but I'll tuck it down. But because I can tell that it's like, it does make a difference. The moment I am letting him know that I'm also paying attention, it's like a different energy and like a focus in it.
Absolutely.
And it's something to keep in mind where, you know, it can be a good family bonding experience.
And
Sorry, go ahead, Liz.
Oh, you're good. It's a jumping off point too for talking about, like if you watch the episode together, now you have something to talk about and play about together, and you can ask questions about what they understood or what they saw. It's like that joint attention goes a long way in building your connection.
We had something like that with my oldest. Like I said, she had speech delay. So screen times actually were a big help with me because of her speech therapy. So like the big movie, funny enough, because she was 2 at the time, that she clung onto was Toy Story. And because I love that movie, I grew up watching that movie. So I would watch that with her and saying what you did. I actually went out to Target because I knew she liked it and I knew they sold a playset. I bought her all the figurines and she would watch the movie. And one of the first things she ever said was reach for the sky.
Aww.
So it was that, but she would play, and it was nice because then I would buy her like all the figurines from Moana. So we had for the longest time just a bunch of figurines from the movies that she was watching because it was fun because I got to, interact with her, but it really, really helped. And it was because I think it just became like a story for her just to, spark her.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you were giving her meaning by like translating what she was seeing on a 2-dimensional screen right into her 3-dimensional world. Like how special for her and how like research shows that doing those kinds of things are really beneficial for kids and make screen time just a lot more meaningful, more beneficial for them.
Yeah. Yeah. See, to everyone listening, screen time doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. There's ways to use it. Okay, so we're talking about watching stuff. Now let's talk about apps. So apps, same thing, I would imagine, are not all created the same. And tablets are a big thing. Currently, we are on a tablet hiatus in my household because like I said, I'm not an stickler on screen time, but I certainly notice when they get too much. And behavior is not my friend. So tablets have been gone. They're going to be gone. I told them for a month. So we'll see how that one works. I was like so done. But in that, not everything's created equal. So how do we maneuver that?
I would say apps, Liz and I say that, and a lot of experts in kids and screens talk about apps being the Wild West for kids because there are just so many apps out there. And like if you go on the app store and you try to find it, like if you're like, oh, I'm going to try to find an app for my 3-year-old, and you just go type in educational apps for kids, you're going to get thousands. There's thousands and thousands of apps for kids
without any regulations. Like there's no rules on what anyone can say in their advertising.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's very hard to make a high quality app for kids, I would say. And there's a model that we like to use called the E-AIMS. Liz, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So the E-AIMS is from something called the Science of Learning. And it basically lays out like what to look for in an app because it really is the Wild West. Like Roxy's saying, even if you search educational by your kid's age range, there's no rules. Like there's no guarantee that what an app developer says their app does has any truth to it. So the E-AIMS is, it's an acronym. So E is engaging, looking for things that are related to your kids' interests that will really engage them, like help them understand what they're doing and translate it into the real world. And then the second thing is actively involved. So, like things that are giving them some sort of response or giving them agency. And it's M is minds on. So, things that require them to be like actively thinking about the content, not necessarily like those drill and skill flashcard apps, but more of it's called like a sandbox experience where they can explore within the app to some degree and have agency over it. Yeah. And then the final piece that I think is so interesting is social. So the best apps are apps that encourage kids to either play with someone else or share their experience with someone else, whether that be like prompts for the parent afterwards to ask the kiddo what they learned, or multiplayer things. Or my son's really into this app right now called Pock Pock. Okay. That's adorable. It's called Pock Pock's Playroom. It's Montessori inspired, and the whole idea behind it is that it's completely open-ended and child-led. But he loves to play it together, and it's so cool because they designed it so that one of the little toys in it is a coloring page.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
But multiple people can be coloring at the same time.
Oh, cool.
So okay. I don't know how they did it. That's like a challenging haptic, but he and I can both be drawing and coloring at the same time. And he loves it. Like he wants me to do it with him.
Yeah.
Whereas other apps we've tried are like his world and he doesn't want help.
Yeah.
So that social piece, I think, like we were talking about with TV too, like that's a big factor that can change the game on screen time.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that's kind of where that's the problem that we've been running into is like my kids each have their own little tablet. They get it. But it's not, they don't, exchange anything on there. There aren't really any 2-player games that I have ever had my kids come across. And that's where we end up with the bickering and the fighting and us removing tablets for the unforeseen future. Like I'm done. But yeah, it's hard. I never thought about that piece because that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it helps kids transfer what they learn. So much of the research, like Roxy was saying, points to kids need help like taking that 2D experience and bringing it into the 3D world. And for these little ones that we're talking about, like toddlers and preschoolers, it's primarily their caregivers that are serving that role of helping them bridge 2D to 3D. And when you're able to use media together, or even just talk about what they did while they were using it, if they're alone, it can really go far in making it an educational experience.
Isn't there an app where it's like Oshi? It starts with an O. Isn't there one where it's like you can connect it and then draw something on the, I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
I know what you're talking about.
I feel like I've seen a lot of ads for it, but I feel like they have like letters and you can see, and they have, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it up, but maybe that would be something. I'm trying to think of gifts for my son. So I'm like, I don't know, but I want something like that instead of where he's obsessed with alphabet. So anything like tablet wise alphabet, that kid started counting in like Chinese right before I put him to bed because of the tablet, where I'm like, what?
God.
I know. He did it in Spanish and then in Chinese. And I was like, what came out of you? I just turned around. I was like, where did you learn this from? It's not for me. My son is wild with the ABCs. If anyone listening, you guys know that he is like crazy with ABC shapes. But again, I credit a lot to the screen because I think there are some really great apps that have just, he's gotten into and he plays and he absorbs it. They have fun. So again, it's not been a bad thing, but it's when they fight, when the behavior starts coming out that I'm like, yeah, no, we're gonna have to figure this one out. Awesome. Well, okay. So I know you guys have courses. I know you like to talk about courses, and I know you just said a reset course. I want to hear about what you got.
Yeah. So our first course that we have released and available right now is the Science of Screen Time. And it basically is covering what Liz and I have studied for the past 10 years, the Ph.D. in one course, joke. So it covers basically how to boost the benefits of screen time. Like what are the pros and cons of screens for young kids according to cognitive development, according to human development, family studies, and what you should look for in a show, what you should look for in an app that marks it as something that can be a high quality experience, what you can do as a parent before kids have a media experience, while they're using media and after. It's basically a way to set yourself up for success, I would say, if you are going to introduce screens to your young children. And the Family Media Reset, which will be coming out soon, is if things have sort of gone off the rails with screens in your home. So like practical tips about what you can do to sort of reel it back in with like a lot of tips and techniques that are evidence-based rather than just like throwing the TV away, never having it back again. Like how can you sort of take little steps to gain control back?
Yeah, well, maybe that's what I need. My God, that's what. Just tablet screen. I put big boundaries over after this weekend. I was like, God, where's reset? That's exactly what we needed. Because, like I said, I feel like sometimes it's just a very slippery slope. I think it's very easy life gets busy, and that the screen. I mean, for me, I'm the type of person that always has my TV on. I just like the noise, even when I'm home alone. I just like having something. So for me, I always have it on and I don't think about it, but then I do. The moment I do, then I feel like we're too late. So we're like, okay, we need to rein this one in and figure out how we can navigate this switch because it's interesting.
Yeah. It's never too late.
It's not too late. And it's the way that things are designed, right? Like there's a reason why platforms have autoplay, and there are techniques that are used to keep kids and adults engaged in media content where it's kind of hard to step away, or it doesn't feel like there's a good moment to like interrupt and turn something off, right? So there are techniques being used to like draw people in and keep eyes on things, which are important to be aware of, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't think, again, we're generation, most of us here listening and right here, we're, like I said, we're generation guinea pig, especially like, and I've thought about that in terms of like social media and stuff like that. Like there's that whole facet of kids and social medias, but just in general, like we talk to our parents and it's not like we can go to them. I don't know about you guys, but my parents are boomers. So for me, I would like, what'd you guys do? They only had like TV for like my mom still remembers when they would put out like a Charlie Brown special, like that came out, once a year and things like that. So it was not the same. So it's not like we could really turn to our generations before and be like, hey, what did you guys do? Because this is,
it's us figuring it out.
Yeah.
And we get comments just like what you said a lot, where people are like, oh, it's too late for me. And I just want to emphasize, like, it isn't ever too late. Like, we're all just doing the best we can with the information we have, which is why we are so passionate about sharing that research and the truth around screen time, because it is intimidating and it is new. And there are a lot of loud voices on social media, like on the pro side and the con side, that just make it so confusing to know what the right thing to do is. So we're trying to help translate some of that truth so parents can stress less about it, because like everyone's just doing their best with the info.
Yeah. And it's just one extra thing. It's one extra thing. Parents are literally struggling. The amount that it's so interesting when I hear from women that vent, and the amount of guilt that we carry on a day-to-day basis is phenomenal. Like, it's not, well, then that's not the right word. Phenomenal being like, this is crazy, ginormous, the amount of guilt, but like, it's wild that, we guilt ourselves over the food that we're giving our kids and the amount of time that we've given our kids and where we took our kids. And, and then they add I was really stressed because we're also humans and we're adults and we have to figure ourselves out and our needs, and our kids, God forbid, they got 1 extra hour of screen time. Then we're going to bed thinking that we just ruined our children. And it's not true. It's just not true. We carry so much on our shoulders that it's just, it's unfair at this point to do.
And then you add in the news headlines with scare tactics that just want you to click them. Like, there was one that went around a few weeks ago that you probably saw. It was like, screen time causes developmental delays.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Not true. That's not what the study found. That's not what the research has found at large. It was a completely correlational study. So, I mean, I can dive into it a little more if you want. But basically, it was a survey of thousands and thousands. It was huge. Thousands of parents, I think 7,000 parents in Japan. And it asked them at age 1, on a typical day, how much time did your child just spend using any screen? And then they broke it down into amounts of time. And what the study actually found is that I think it was less than 5%, something around 4% of the kids in the study spent 4 hours or more on a typical day, which, first of all, that's not the standard for how to ask about media use in media research. Like, I don't know what a typical day is in a 1-year-old's life.
Yeah.
But of the kids who spent 4 or more hours at age 1 on a screen in a typical day, there were associations with developmental delays at age 2 and 4. But what they didn't measure is whether those kids had a developmental delay at age 1.
Yeah.
It's not clear if maybe they were experiencing some type of developmental delay at age 1 that was leading to more screen time.
Yeah.
It's not to say the screen time caused the delay or the delay caused the screen time. All they found was a connection.
Yeah.
And also, they did not evaluate the content that the kids were watching. So even in the discussion of the paper, the authors recognize that that's a major limitation. And they even cite, there's a meta-analysis, which is when you take a bunch of studies and boil down what they all found. And a meta-analysis found that excessive screen time is linked to communication delays, but educational screen time is linked to improvements in language.
Interesting, yeah.
So it really comes down to the content. Yeah. But that headline makes me so mad because all it's doing is layering on completely unnecessary guilt.
Yeah, because you're talking to a speech delay mom here. So where it's and the amount of moms that I have, because I share about it openly, and it was such a journey, but because it was my first, I thought about the nights that I was up at when she was 6 weeks old, when I had to survive and put Coco on. So it was all of that I thought, I was like, oh my God, did I do this to her? But I was like, no, she literally spent talking to every single person. And that's stuff that you have to remind yourself. And like I had said earlier, when the other guest that I had on, he was talking about, it's the amount are you replacing social interactions with it? Like, are you replacing talking to your child because you don't want to talk to your child? Like that I can imagine happening.
Right.
Where I was like,
yeah,
it's a direct effect. Obviously, if you let the screen rule every interaction, then yeah. But otherwise, like no one's doing that. I don't think there's even a will. I don't think that's even possible.
Like a 1-year-old who's spending 4 hours a day using a screen is like, there's no way that they're getting enough of that high quality social interaction that they need to develop. But it was only 4% of the kids in that study were even in that bucket with the bad measure. Like, it's not the norm at all.
Yeah. It almost makes me feel bad because for the parents that probably did answer that, I'm curious on their living situations and everything that goes down to that, where it's like, you got to look at that stuff too. Not that that's a fault at all, but I think it's important to note that way we can help out those families and get them what they need. That way it's not, they could be watching 4 hours plus of screen time because, again, survival.
Yeah. Their parents needed a caregiver that's not available, or who knows, the kid is sick or a parent is sick. Like, there's so many factors. Like, there's so much nuance to screen time.
Yeah, no, I hate hearing studies like that. So listen, everyone, don't do that to yourself. It's not true.
Don't let it add to your guilt. It's not true at all. You're doing a great job.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, well, okay. I'm trying to make sure I don't have anything else. I'm like looking at my list to make sure, because I know I typed up some things. I think I covered all of it. So what's scary for kids? We'll go for that. What's scary for kids?
Yeah. So what's scary? So when Liz and I have like a blog post about this and an Instagram reel, I think, about it. And what's scary for kids changes over time. So when babies, for example, from like 0 to 2, things like loud noises, strangers, a parent leaving and having to remain with a stranger, like those kinds of things are scary. But when you enter the toddler and preschool years, it shifts to more scary appearing things. So like the big bad wolf, for example, would probably be scary to a child. And even
that still terrifies me to this day, the big bad wolf. I'm not even kidding. As a kid, I will forever remember, I don't know what I watched, but it was the big bad wolf, and there was a movie and I saw his red eyes in a cave. And I will forever remember it. And my parents, the house I lived in, my parents' room was at the end of the hall, right before the stairs. So their room was always dark. So if I had to get down the stairs, I had to go right past their room, and it scared the crap out of me. I will never forget that. So you're just saying that. So yes, that's true.
So kids in that like toddler preschool age have a really hard time distinguishing between fantasy and reality. So like to them, like that wolf in your parents' bedroom to you, that might have been a really probable thing that could happen to you. Yeah. So that's terrifying to them because they can't tell, like, could that happen in real life or not? And even scary things that appear scary but aren't necessarily scary or mean. Like, we like to give the example of E.T. Like, E.T. was a friendly character, and he just has a scary appearance. So kids, there was a survey study done about, oh no, I think we lost her.
I still see her.
Oh, okay. So there was a survey study done. Kids were afraid of E.T. and overall they were.
No, you're good. I still see you.
Okay. Okay, so E.T. He looks scary, but he isn't. He's a good guy. And kids mainly see his appearance and can't get past that. Like, his behaviors are kind. He's a good person, alien. But they can't get past his visual appearance, and he's just scary to them within that early age bracket. And then as kids get older, like middle childhood, things that could happen, like natural disasters or wars, where they understand the difference between fantasy and reality, but they know that something could happen. Those things become more scary to kids as they get older.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I just watched my daughter's, my almost 6-year-old, I just showed her Casper, the movie, which actually was okay. She did okay, but definitely brought up a lot of questions about death and like afterlife. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is not the movie to go into with her. It's interesting.
I haven't seen Casper in a while.
I
I guess
mean,
there are some scary parts to it.
It's not too bad. Like I put it on. She actually enjoyed it, but it definitely, she was like, what happened to him? Like what went on there? And I was like, I don't want to like go too deep into the.
Oh yeah, the concept of a ghost.
Yeah. Like we've been dealing, the dying thing has become a big conversation. I don't know. I think she had someone at school whose grandfather died. So it's like my family's dog died. So that's been a big conversation with that age of navigating the conversation with that, which I'll tell her flat out, but I don't want to scare her because,
Right.
you know, it is scary when you're a kid,
Yeah.
you know, when all of a sudden you think about that stuff. So that's interesting. And then how about teens?
So for teens, things that are a little bit more abstract, I like to use the movie Inception as like things that are like sort of like a cognitive thriller for them can be more frightening. Obviously, things like thrillers are going to be scary to a lot, like almost all age groups. But things that have a little bit more abstract thinking to them can be scary for teens.
Yeah. Or even just like probably seeing, I would imagine for teens seeing like social news and stuff like that, what's going on in the, you know, adult world. I think that would probably be a little scary too, to see like what's going on in the news and current events and stuff like that.
Yeah. Teens think a lot more like we do. So things that are freaky to us likely are to be freaky to teens.
Oh, did I lose you guys? Oh no.
I still see you.
I can hear you. Oh no.
Are you guys there? Let's see. Oh, no.
I still see you.
I still see you.
Hi. It's very weird not knowing who can see or hear who.
I can always see and hear you. Your connection.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. It's like,
okay, good.
Okay, I can see you.
Liz
is gone on my end.
Obsessive about our Wi-Fi quality.
For obvious reasons.
Oh no. Can you see me?
I love her.
Oh no.
What did you say? I can't read the bottom.
It says you are enough.
Oh no. Can you see? Can you hear me?
I wonder if that's hers.
Oh yeah, it might be.
Oh no, she's gone.
I'm back. Are we here?
You're back.
Okay. I don't know what the heck happened. Oh gosh, this recording is going to be interesting. Hopefully it works out, but that's all right. Well, we won't keep it going that much longer. I would just say, let's finish up with words of encouragement for parents, and then we'll cap it off.
Yeah, I think my main one is what I said earlier. Just it's never too late. Little changes can have huge impacts. Like just intentional content choices can swing that pendulum from, is this okay, to, wow, this is actually beneficial. And everyone is doing the best with the information they have right now. And we're all just trying to learn more every day and do the best we can for our kids. And so many of the parents we talk to are so stressed and guilty about their completely normal, balanced screen time use, where they're making great intentional choices for their kids, who are watching high quality content, they're talking to their kids about it, and they're laying those foundations for healthy media habits throughout their life. Like, there does not need to be this guilt and shame around it. You're not rotting your kid's brain by giving them healthy, moderate access to screens in the home. You're probably benefiting them, actually.
Yeah, well, especially in today's world. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I would just to add to that is that I think that a lot of parents, because parents don't talk a lot about screen time and like the benefits of it and what they enjoy about it for their kids, or that they like using it to take a break, because it's just not talked about a lot. Parents, I think, feel very alone when they do let their kids use screens. And I want parents to know that you're not alone in the way that you're feeling about screens, if you are feeling a little bit guilty or ashamed about your kids using screens, like a lot of parents are right there with you. And the more that we talk about it and talk about ways that we can improve it and like what best practices are and what good content there is out there, the less, I think, stigma there will be around it, and then all the better for kids and for parents, for families in general. So let's just like let go of the shame about it and talk about it and talk about how to make it the best that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all I'm about here, because you gotta do what you gotta do. No one knows your family. No one knows your kids like you do. No one knows your situation like you do. So your situation's going to look different. But at the end of the day, you gotta like, I'm sorry, if it's coming down to a shower or a little bit of screen time, please go take a shower.
Yeah,
please go take care of yourself, because I've always used that, like with screen time. Like I said, the sleeping when I had to put on Coco for my daughter, like it was either that or me potentially being exhausted taking care of her, which is not a safe situation. And I'm sorry, I'd rather have a little bit of screen time, even if it were detrimental. I'd rather have that than me possibly put her at risk because of exhaustion, frustration, burnout, any of those things. And it's one of those things that we tell moms to take care of themselves and parents to take care of themselves, and then we don't give them any grace when they have to do the thing that allows them to do exactly that. So,
yeah. And it's all about balance. Like, you're the expert on your family. You're the expert on you. Like, we can tell you all of the research and all of the info, but it's up to you how that's best for your family. And if you get to get some sleep or take a shower and that makes you a better parent, that's far more beneficial for your kids than a little bit of screen time would ever be detrimental.
Absolutely.
It's all that balance.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've absolutely loved this conversation. I apologize for all the Wi-Fi craziness, but
that's okay.
For everyone listening, I'm going to edit it as best as I can. But I'm so excited that we were able to just have this conversation. I'm excited for you guys because you guys are growing. I have a feeling you're going to keep on growing, and I will cheer you on the entire way, because that's your account. This is the reason why I wanted to have you on, is to validate moms, to be somewhere in the middle. I feel like there's such, like we said, it's polarizing. There's such black and white content, whether you're bad or you're good. And enough of that. Like, we just need to find that middle ground of doing our best and hitting that gray zone a little bit more, which I think you guys do very nicely. So I'm excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, for everyone listening, I'm going to link all the information about Liz and Roxy in the show notes. I'm going to link their Instagram page. I'll talk to you guys and we'll get like courses or anything like that if you want to link some of those in there as well. But go check them out. Go follow them on Instagram. Go just get some peace of mind for yourself.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. That was so fun.
Yay. Yeah. Another episode down. Thank you all so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, I would be so appreciative if you would leave a rating and review. I cannot begin to tell you how much those mean to me, but also how much they help me get in front of more eyes and more ears. As always, be sure to check back every Tuesday and Friday for a new episode, whether it's an episode with me and my husband, me and Katie, or just another incredible, amazing guest. Stay tuned for more honest, real, raw chit chat. And hey, do me a favor before you go. Remind yourself how amazing you are, how enough you are, how special you are. And boy, oh boy, I sure am glad to have you here. Thanks, friend.